We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Welcome back to I Be Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I speak from the role of a patient, and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other co-host, Michelle Harvey. I am Mason's mom, and I speak in the role of a caregiver. Small disclaimer, we are getting over being sick.
Yeah.
We went to, so we're always super careful because, we've talked about this on our podcast. We went to Disneyland. We wore masks. We did everything. We rode maybe 4 rides. I don't know, 3 or 4 rides. Came home and Mason was sick. So then, as is the true gift of kindness, he shared with me, and then I got sick. So we may sound a little congested. So we will edit this though, so that way you will not be hearing any sneezing or coughing. We'll try to make it as, viewer friendly as possible.
We're not sick, guys.
Yeah. So
there's totally not a box of tissues right here.
We're all ready.
Yes, we are.
So this week, some of you watching may have been aware this podcast was coming if you follow us on Facebook. And I want to first of all say, I'll let Mason share his opinion, but I'm okay. This isn't something, first of all, that I'm so upset about and it's worrying me or concerning me, but I wanted to make this a topic on the podcast because we're kind of skipping through our series again, skipping over because this I felt was a little more important. And so my point of view is I really want to share this because I want to use it as a way to educate, maybe help people have better discussions around chronic disease, and also just kind of give support to those of you out there who I know hear these things all the time. I don't know but I'll let you, how you feel about it. So we got a letter in the mail, and we've been doing a Take Steps fundraiser. So in front of our house, we have just 2 signs with Mason's picture on them and with a QR code inviting people to join our team or donate to the Take Steps walk. We've done this every year. This is, they're, just in our front yard. And so some people, because they've seen these, they've donated, they have stopped by, they've dropped off checks to give to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And so it's been a really cool thing. So we got this letter in the mail about 2 nights ago. I don't know.
Hey, well, we're sick. So fun.
The return address was a smiley face. And it was addressed to, we have it right here, but I'm not going to hold up because I don't want to have to edit stuff out with our address. But it was addressed just to neighbor. And so we're I thought at first, okay, must be a check or something for Take Steps. Yeah. And so I was cool. So nice of a neighbor to do that. So we're kind of excited, open it up.
Fun.
And this was a first. It was a letter guiding us on how better to treat Mason. So we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to go through the letter with you guys. So if you want to, so it's not a mean letter.
No. I'm going to talk about what my opinion is on it later.
Yeah.
There's multiple views I have on this and potential possibilities. Don't fear. Critical and dialectical thinking is here.
Right. I have a note here before we start reading the letter. A note in the letter. We have a lot for you guys today.
Yep.
But 2 things can be true. That someone can be shaming you for your choices while truly believing they are being helpful. And I think a lot of people, this is the problem with a lot of people, is the way they handle these conversations. Yeah. It's not to say that the person doing this didn't have good intentions, but it was also kind of a shaming letter. And so, we've, a lot of you guys out there, you've encountered this since you were diagnosed, where people tell you, right away, what you should be doing.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, no, that's not right. You should be doing this instead.
Right. It's a lot of, usually a lot of dietary advice, I would say. And usually it comes from people watching YouTube podcasts, famous celebrity influencer doctors. And a lot of these people, what they don't realize is they make their money off their views, off what they're selling, off their product that they're building, which is, like us, at least we claim on here, guys. Yes, we have a podcast. So, but we're not making any money from this. And we never claim to be experts.
Nope.
We're always very clear about that.
We're not scientists. We're not doctors. We're just your average podcasters.
And so it's important to have that disclosure so people know where you're coming from, because it's important to take your advice from your medical team. So the other thing here is that it's been tough. I as a patient, I can only imagine, what you guys all go through. As a caregiver, I have got to hear on the other side what I've done wrong as far as taking care of Mason, putting him on biologics and what a cruel choice that is, and stuff like that. And really, I think it just like Mason, and it is unfair, but you do build up a kind of a tough skin with it. It's not fair that you have to.
No. But over time, I obviously it's not easy to get injections and needles at first.
Yeah.
But over time, it genuinely makes you a stronger person. Before I couldn't stand an IV, but now it's just one of those things. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
you have to go get it.
And
it's made me a stronger person.
And his medical team we trust. And if it's one thing if you don't trust your medical team, look for
another one.
But don't look to somebody
that's going to give you the answer
that is going to give you the right. The disease, like we've mentioned, is a complicated disease. And I think part of the problem is a lot of influencers, a lot of social media, commercials oversimplify it.
Yep.
And they make people feel like such a simple thing, just like IBS. They group it. It's always grouped, and it's not the same thing.
It feels like it's kind of like one of those movies. I don't know. Maybe a good example would be Wall-E, where the billboards are all showing by and large, and they're showing a nice, healthy city, a nice, healthy company. Yeah. And then it zooms out to the real world, and it's just this stark, it's a lot worse than what the advertisements are making it look. And obviously, that is a very stretched comparison. That was not great. I could have done better, but my brain is clearly right now.
It's all right. But it's something. It's relatable.
That's what I'm thinking of, where it's like the dark reality compared to how it's painted on social media.
And so many people think like they have that easy answer, because it's like, well, why aren't you just doing this? And it's frustrating because it makes us have to always be defensive. And you don't want to be like,
no.
And if that's one thing this disease has taught me about, speaking out for people who like I'm not an individual with it, but I'm a parent to somebody with it, is to help them, because it feels very frustrating that people can come at you, make you have to defend your treatments, make you have to explain your disease and like full
I didn't ask for this disease in the first place.
Well, maybe like Mason doesn't want to explain. There are so many factors to pediatric Crohn's disease. And I mean, let alone, nobody really knows yet what causes this. Nobody really knows how they're learning how to treat it. But they're treating, like, I think the underlying reasons for it, not the actual disease yet. So you couple all this, and when you are someone like a kid and someone's telling you, oh, my friend, they make themselves sick because they eat the wrong things. And it's like,
oh, no, you're
now you're victim blaming. It's tough. And he has, over the course of 6 years, it has been something that you just get used to. And we've tried to look at it as people mean well. I don't think they're thinking that they could hurt with their advice. They're actually thinking that it's like
it happens all the time. When you think you're just going to give some nice, healthy advice, which sometimes isn't the case.
Yeah.
But most of the time, someone thinks they're just giving you some nice advice that you can use.
Right.
But no.
And, most likely
it's well-intentioned, but, not well-served.
It's true. There's like times, like I think like with Mason, you can think in your head when they're telling you these things, like, it's such a simple disease, it's just like IBS, and you're like, I don't want to sit here and explain to you why it is not that disease. Please stop calling it IBS. It's not IBS.
And there's going to be multiple different kinds of Crohn's disease eventually.
Right. And that's the other thing too. And so there's so many different treatments for these patients, different ways that they're treated that are successful because they are different. And your medical team knows you best. I think like someone like Mason, when someone's talking to him and he's probably thinking, yeah, I've tried this, I've done this, you don't want to have to explain to them. So it's just a difficult feeling where people mean well, but it is not really necessarily, it's not really necessary.
No. It's not necessary at all.
Yeah.
There we go.
Unless you ask.
Yeah, unless you ask, yes. Remember to ask if you need
right.
help.
When you're just newly diagnosed with this, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to share this letter. This kind of letter could be very devastating. Yeah, very dangerous, very devastating, because you might read this and feel like you've done something, you could have done something better. Maybe you don't trust your medical team now. So that's why it's important to talk about this, because we're in a place where we get this and we're like, okay.
Here we go again.
Okay. But if somebody else, if we'd received this maybe 6 years ago,
Yeah.
it would have felt very different. And when you're already going through grief and
Mm-hmm.
the sadness, the pain, all of it, when with the diagnosis, this is not something that is helpful in really any way.
Nope.
We ourselves have encountered this in our own families with people not wanting to understand the disease. They have an idea what it is. So I feel like it is something that isn't just from strangers. It can come from people you love and you care about. And that makes it sometimes even harder.
Which is why it's important to continue to educate, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a chance that it's just someone who's trying to be a jerk and upset you.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the possibility that they just genuinely don't understand the disease.
Right.
And, they just don't get it, and then that's why you have to educate.
Right.
But you need to educate in a way that isn't asserting, like, this is the one way, this is
Right.
right. You need to assert it, here's how this version works, but there is other versions, so. This isn't the one way, there's multiple ways.
Right. And we even say that a lot because we talk about what works for Mason, but we're always very clear to say this may not work for you. I feel like knowledgeable to be helpful and to also be cognizant of our words and our actions and how we are affecting.
To not only teach, but also be open to how other people may handle their condition.
Right. And one of my friends, Laurel, who, our friend,
Yep.
yes, we had met her at the library years ago when Mason was. So she's also been impacted by chronic disease. And what I really appreciate what she said is, advice is the best way is to give. Like if you're out there listening, you're like, well, how do I help somebody? I heard this, and now you're saying I shouldn't tell somebody. But what she said, which I think it was like, okay, if you want to help, ask the person how you can help.
Yeah.
And so you might ask Mason, is there anything you need help with, or is there anything that I could offer? And the other next best thing you can do is listen. Simple, right? And if you do have like some incredible story you just saw and you want to share it, which some of you listening have done with us and shared, like Mason, we're open. We're open to that.
Just make sure you do research, because sometimes people will just read the headlines
and
they're like, wow, guys, did you read the headline?
And then they tell you like there's a cure.
And oh wow, really?
And then you have to feel bad because now I have to read all this and research it and message you back and tell you why. But it isn't fair. Like, please, I don't like, I don't want to have to do all the work, and neither does Mason. We've got enough stuff. But I will say, if you have read something or you have experienced something that has helped you.
Do you know if this is accurate or if this is true?
Right.
Hey, this is a cure.
Right. And I have friends who are dealing with other issues, chronic issues, and they'll suggest or say things that have worked for them. But they know when they tell me, they're not saying like, do this only.
Say, hey, for me, this is what I did, but...
And you can keep a notebook or like a Google Doc, put in there like when people make suggestions, if you want to bring it up with your doctor or if you want to do more research. But so it's really all about how you share the information. To also not get upset at like if you tell Mason something and he's like, okay, yeah, that doesn't really apply. Don't push him any further. No. Just let it go. Like,
okay.
Yeah, just, okay, you offered it. He was like, cool, thank you. Move on. But don't like put him in a position now where he has to give you his entire medical history and do all that. Like that's not the way to talk to somebody.
Do not force. Do not force opinion. Well, I don't know if that's opinion, but maybe opinion or belief. If you believe that this works because it worked for you, you can say, here's what I tried here's what worked for me. I don't know if this would work for you, but here's what I did. Instead of being like, you should do this. It will help you feel better.
Because your doctor cares and does want to see you doing better.
There are some cases where people, they just can't find the treatment, and in that case, where your doctor seems like they're not helping, they're still trying their best.
Right.
But when for the past 5 years, I have been on biologics that my doctor helped find that have gotten me into a place where I am healthy. I feel like a normal person. I just have to go in every 2 weeks.
Right.
Obviously not fun.
No.
But when it's giving you back the gift of life, it's like, wow, okay.
Right.
So when you have the credibility that your doctor has helped you this much and you are this healthy, you have that proof to know that your doctors are really trying to help. And, why would I not listen?
Right. Makes sense. I mean, and that makes sense. And that's like, I think people just want to have an easy answer. And they don't understand, like, these doctors have, they've gone to school. They are, ours is always up on the newest research. Like, they go over the newest articles, they go over the newest, and we're not talking like the doctors on YouTube who cherry pick and use anecdotes from, unverified sources. Like, you don't know who, Jenny is or John is who talk about this. And so they can share things acting like they have, this authority, but our doctors are using information that has gone through scientific verification and gone through research, and it has gone through tests, and it has been verified. And that is different. It's not to say that at some point somebody could figure out something that could help. Definitely not knocking the people who are not just in that field.
Yeah.
But for now, for Mason, we are trusting the verified sources and our doctor. And that
A doctor
is
to my name, the GI specialist.
right. Right, because she's an IBD specialist, which is even more important. And so I think one of the main reasons we're going to start to go into the letter here, and I'm going to let you guys know it's not like a cruel letter, but it doesn't have to be mean or cruel to be dangerous or hurtful. All those, like I said, these things can all be true. This person may not have intended to start this, but she or he, this person doesn't, I don't think, knows us. I really don't, because some of the stuff they said I feel like would be silly, because if you know us, you know.
Like I said, I'm gonna have my opinion on it, but I'll be giving that after we read it.
Right. And I'm trying to be, I think in this one I'm trying to be the balanced. I'm trying really hard, because I promise you, when I got this letter, if I had done this podcast and posted when I got this, would not be this calm.
There was an amazing thing I learned in my argumentation class. But it was something like, if someone sends you a message in your email, like your boss or saying something that upsets you, your fight or flight instincts are going to take initiative, and they're going to make you write up this whole dang thing, and you're going to be ticked off, and it's going to start a whole argument, and your boss is like, what are you doing? But what they recommend you do is, before you respond, if the time limit isn't crucial.
Right. If you have it.
What you do is you sit on it for a night. You don't sit on it, but you think about it for a night, and you calm down, your fight or flight instincts stop, and then your dialectical approach or your cognitive thinking skills take over, and then you can write a healthy note that still says you're upset about it, but how can we solve it? Instead of just being, you're awful. You can
because it's not
solve
like,
the problem.
When we post about this, or like on Facebook, we do these podcasts, it's not like we're doing this to like incite a riot and have people get mad. So it's not like we're doing this to upset people. We're doing this to educate, and to also just
educate.
And to show people what happens to patients, because a lot of you out there have no idea that you might think you've given the only advice this person's ever heard, and you're not. And unfortunately, it's so much. And so I think it's an education process to share with people, like, look, this is what happens to patients. They're already dealing with enough, and then they're dealing with this. So I think it's fair to share things, because we rarely talk about all of it. And because it's just like, why would we do that? But this just kind of stopped me, like, we need to do this again. We need to talk about this, and to educate people on how to share information. So the purpose of this is not to give attention to the author of this super kindly neighbor letter here. It's not to give them more. I'm not, because it's not about them. It's really about how can we help others with this experience. So that's where I'm coming from. But yeah, Mason's exactly right, because when I got this and I'm starting to read it out loud, we were in the car and everybody's reacting. We were going to Starbucks.
Oh.
And so
fun.
Mason's getting hot chocolate. So we're all like reading this, as we're reading it, we're just like getting more and more angry. And I was actually in a pretty bad mood for a few hours after this. Then we said we all went to sleep, and then talked about it. And then I was able to post from a place of, like he said, perspective, not anger, and much healthier for everybody. So if you're out there, I recommend, because when all of you saw this, when I posted on Facebook, I knew people were going to be like, oh, this this makes me mad. A lot of words that I can't say on our YouTube channel. I knew that would happen because like Mason said, that was their initial reaction was that fight or flight, like that anger, because that's the first time they
In the
heard
first
it.
few seconds, you act with reaction, and then in the next few hours, you act with reason,
Right. Good. Yeah, that's good. So we'll just jump into the letter. So it starts with neighbor with like the little M dash or the dash, whatever that is. Yeah, neighbor.
Well, it could have been written by AI.
And it says, I feel led to share some info with you. Another dash. And so I always appreciate when someone feels led to share. And I want to point out that as we start reading this, we have no idea who this is.
No.
And that is the biggest problem I actually have with this
If you
letter.
want somebody to take your opinion credibly,
Right.
it would be helpful if you would tell somebody who you are.
Being anonymous, like I don't know what your medical background is. I don't know what your credentials are. I don't even know if you have this disease or know someone with this disease. I have the disadvantage of knowing nothing about you. You know a little bit about us. You know Mason has Crohn's, but I know nothing about you. And so
Nothing.
because I know that, I don't know where this letter really comes from. I don't know what place this comes from. I don't know if you are the kindest person and you really, really meant this, from the bottom of your heart. I don't know if you're just a know-it-all, like who likes to, spread information that you have not researched or verified yourself. I have no idea. So I think when something is anonymous, it's like, why should Mason and I trust this over his doctor? Like, seriously, you didn't even have the courage to put your name on it. And that makes me feel like it is. It's like you don't want a discussion. You don't want to learn about Mason because if you want to learn about him, you would have left our contact information so we could talk to you and introduce ourselves. But because you just left this without your name, you did not care. You truly didn't care. That's the message I got because someone who cares would leave an address, a name, something so they could say, I don't know you guys. Tell me a little bit. But this is like, I don't know you. I don't care to get to know you, but here's my opinion anyways. So that's my biggest problem. I know Mason have other things to say, but that's my,
I can.
that's where this is coming from. The whole tone of this letter shifts for me because no matter how nicely it's written, I'm frustrated that the person is not interested in actually any conversation on this. And so if you're not, don't send us these things. But if you want to send us a letter with your name on it and your contact information or drop a comment, we'll be happy to respond. Yeah. So they said, I feel led to share some info with you. Not sure what research you've done. With another dash. They really like those. Like, I feel like it's an AI, like you put something in and it does those M dashes everywhere.
There's a saying that ChatGPT loves using dashes. I mean, I like using dashes too.
But the M dashes are great when they're like sprinkled in everyone. But like
that's just in normal texting where it's just like a text here, text there. That's okay.
Try
when you're giving a formal letter, it's like
right. So I feel like it's like short. It's not even like a period. It's not. It's just like dash. And not sure what research you've done, which that was a part also. I mean, how did you feel about that?
I was like, wow. Here's where I'll tell you my opinion on that in a second.
Okay. I was mad because I felt like you aren't sure, but you're sending this to us. You didn't like, you could Google our names. You could look us up. You could check out Mason's Take Steps page. If you even did any of those little steps and did your own research, you would probably see that, we actually care to do research. We have a whole podcast. And so it's kind of
candle company dedicated to donating money.
Right. Like everything we do. And the thing is too, like the research thing, honestly, it doesn't really matter for this person to know how much research we've done. We know what research we've done. We could back that up all day. And
how many hours you got?
Right. Like I'm like, I can sit here and tell you all the stuff we've done, how much research. You could watch every podcast episode if you want, which we now are on 101, and see all the research. Right?
Second episode.
I know, like launching right into that. And so you can see all that. But ultimately, the most important thing is the research our doctor has done. And so this disease should not be mitigated like by me, and it shouldn't be up to my research on it. But that is important. I like to ask good questions. I like to be educated. But the most important thing is, not questioning my research because it's really about his medical team. So anything else to say at that part?
I'll talk about that part afterwards.
Okay. All right. So then it goes on to say, I'm going to pick this up to make it easier. So there's some who have put their Crohn's or colitis in remission. Heart. I love like the passive aggressive heart. Okay.
Excuse me. Wait. So there's some who have put their Crohn's and colitis into remission. You don't say. That is.
This is shocking.
Did you know bread is carbs?
I
Yes,
know.
there are people who put their Crohn's and colitis into remission.
Shocking.
Oh my gosh.
Shocking, right? Yeah. So yeah, actually, we
I'm
were.
sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that.
We-
That just came off
I know.
funny to me.
And it's as if we don't know that you can put this disease into remission.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mason has actually been in remission. So we are super, we've actually done, I'd love to refer you, if this neighbor happens to be watching, which I almost guarantee you they're not. But if they do, please refer to our episode where we go over, the pyramid of showing the levels of remission. We discuss all of them.
We talked about that.
Yeah. So if she'd like to, or he would like to learn more about remission, we'd be happy to educate you in our podcast. So that was fun. And then they tell me their next thing. This is the next big deal. Search YouTube. This is great. And they want us to look up carnivore Crohn's or carnivore colitis.
How about we search www.crohnsandcolitis foundation.com,
Right. And so, I mean, what I've wondered is does this person actually searched it? Because I did a search and it quickly came up with not appropriate for someone with this disease. It can be dangerous. Some doctors may recommend it temporarily if you're in a flare and if your symptoms, if certain things are causing you to feel worse, then maybe they would recommend this. But this is not recommended to put you into remission.
No.
And that's not us saying that.
No.
That is like Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. That's it. So
That's a my
what I love is how she's not sure what research I've done. I'm really not sure at this point what research this person has done, as far as like beyond her search. So good to know. Then the person says, I saw a video the other day of a guy who did put his in remission on the No Carb Life's channel. Search No Carb Life Crohn's and it will come up. More of those dashes.
Oh wow. Hang on, let's see. 3 dashes in 1 sentence.
Right.
By the way.
More. These are all dashes.
I'm partially convinced they threw this through AI and we're like, hey, can you make this sound nicer?
And we'll hand write this, right?
Right.
It makes sense.
ChatGPT, can you put some dashes in here?
So it's like, okay.
No hate against AI.
So again, now I'm listening to an anonymous person. Tell me about an anonymous person who it doesn't say what they had. I'm assuming it's Crohn's or colitis, but they put it into remission and I should search for this. And I did. So I did.
Yeah, she did.
And I'm not here to make fun of people.
No, I'm laughing at this because just some of the things are funny to me. Not because I'm trying to make fun of whoever wrote this video. I'm very sorry if it's coming off that way.
Right.
But I just personally found some who have put their Crohn's and colitis into remission. That just really got me laughing.
Right.
That's kind of funny to me. But I'm not trying to make fun of this. It just simply made me laugh.
Because again,
Thank you. That's good humor.
They may think that they have some secret that our doctors have been hiding from us, and they are helping to reveal to us. They probably don't know that we have searched all these things because we've done episodes on these, and we're not knocking diet. For some people, it might work. For Mason, it didn't. Then she puts here so they put here just in case I cannot find this when these searches they recommended. The doctors, I'm not going to say the doctor's names on here because I don't know. I don't know. They could be legit. They could be not legit. And I don't feel comfortable.
Smoke to these people.
No, I'm not going to give any time or credibility to something that I really don't know. I will say some of these people are associated. They have probably their own reasons for promoting this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of influencers. There's a lot of podcasters. There's a lot of
money to be made.
There is. And so when people are trying to sell you something overrides logic, overrides doctors' advice, and kind of teach you that these other doctors, like these are the doctors, you should trust us. We're doctors. Don't trust your own doctors. It's weird. So
yeah, I don't trust
I'm not going to share who they are because it really doesn't matter. Nowhere on here did it say Dr. Bauman,
no.
Which is his
GI
doctor.
specialist.
and even if it was a GI specialist,
yeah.
I still know there's opportunists out
There's a
there.
reason I'm with the doctor right now.
Right. And We have a medical team we trust,
You take care of yourself how you need to.
right?
Nobody should ever prevent you from getting the health you deserve.
Exactly. And so if you feel your doctor is not listening, is not, then we've talked to you guys about this before, but this kind of thing, these people may like, and again, these doctors may have ideas that help in flares, but the fact
Yeah.
that they're selling it as a remission is scary
Look, if
to
this
me.
person is, they totally worded it wrong if they're intending this. But if they're trying to tell me how to help during a flare whilst being on biologics,
Right.
okay, interesting. Because when I'm in a flare, obviously we try to make my diet more simple, eggs, rice,
Mm-hmm.
bread,
Right.
make it more simple. That way, while you're on biologics, the biologics can get their work done and your body doesn't have to digest, I don't know,
And
spicy stuff and
even behind
ridiculous
us
stuff.
right here, this book. We have this book we published. It's a journal to help you guys discover if you do have food triggers. That's what we used for Mason. Well, the book didn't look like that. It was a bunch of papers that were really messy and we turned into a book so it would be a lot more organized. The reason we did that is because we wanted to see what triggered him.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of people always posting in the Crohn's groups like, "Hey, tell me your secrets. What foods are bad for me?" And it's like, well, you almost have to figure that out on
Yeah.
your own or seek out an IBD dietitian.
Let me remind you, it is different for
It is
everybody.
right. And some people
You
might
don't
have
know what you can't eat.
some people might have like an IBS, IBD. So there's different without knowing the person and knowing their diagnosis, it's really hard to suggest something. So something may have worked for your friend and you may like say, "Hey, it
Yes,
really did."
congratulations.
And if it did, that is fantastic. But you just need to be very careful what you share with people who may not be as informed as we are.
Or maybe,
Um,
do some research with
but
your
anyway,
jargon and learn that there's multiple types of Crohn's disease, maybe, and
right,
subtypes and some
which is
units,
a huge key. Like
classes. Mm.
you also, I think the biggest thing you need to know like more about Crohn's disease, like Mason's saying, before you assume that it's just
Mhm.
like something else, and or because your friend told you about it, like or even because we told you about it, do your research.
Yes.
That's that's what we always are advocating on here
Don't
for.
look for the answer that you want to find.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my classes, where we talk about argumentation class and finding proof and, well, not proof, but like facts and evidence to back something up, you can search anything and find the claim that supports you.
Right.
But obviously, you have to do some digging that might find one that proves it's you. You have to find the reliable sources, the truthful sources, and not Betty the Bear with Crohn's disease on Fridays.com.
Yeah.
We got to find something that is you can trust, you can believe, you know is real. Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, there's a good one. You can find the facts you want.
Yeah.
But are they the true ones? You got to find reliable stuff.
And it's not like you're just finding these so you can solve your own disease. These are if you want to talk to your doctor and ask questions. The main thing is to do your own research so you can ask good questions with your doctors. Not for you to suddenly become an expert because you watched our podcast and you Googled stuff on YouTube. The letter ends right after that with our food supply is so horrible with chemicals dash and making us sick exclamation. Good luck. That's how it ends. And so then I love how it ends with the blame on this disease is the food supply. So how come not everybody has Crohn's and colitis?
Yeah. If it's everybody, how come people who like eat a lot of this stuff, how come they don't have Crohn's disease?
I can agree that there is a lot wrong with our food,
Yes,
with
there
the things that people are eating. Is it making us sick with Crohn's disease and colitis? So, and also ulcerative colitis. I want to be clear in here. She kept saying colitis, and ulcerative colitis and colitis are not, going to be interchangeable here either. But that's what they use. When you talk about this and you're telling it to a kid who got this at 11 and was probably, diagnosed at 11, and some kids are diagnosed at 2 years old, 3 years old. So our food supply with chemicals, how is that like, what are you insinuating?
Drinking had chemicals in it.
And so the blame of basically saying, Mason is sick because of our food supply is, not.
How come somebody's getting sick at 40? How come somebody's getting sick at 2? How come somebody's getting sick at 11? How come I didn't,
But it makes me mad when that's always the cop out because everyone does know there are some issues with it. And when you look it up, it does say, there might be some environmental influences on this disease as well. But there are so many factors. And if it was just that simple that it was our food that was making us sick, everybody would have this disease. Then maybe they would say, well, no, some people are prone more to it. And this Mason was fed very well. We cook from scratch here quite a bit. We shouldn't have to be defensive and shouldn't have to explain things, but it's like, so that's what you think is making Mason sick. Wow, that is incredible. So that was the letter.
Scientists haven't figured that out, by the way.
No, apparently. And then they'll just say, this person, I imagine, would say they don't want you to, which is where our other podcast series comes in, where we are talking about how we're discrediting that.
It just seems like we are really putting that off, and we're sorry, guys.
But this actually seems like it kind of ties in with it, because it goes into that, treating the medical system as something that is not to be trusted, and biologics, and so it just comes down to the food supply. And so, anyways, if I wish this person would have put their name on here, not so we could be
call you out. No,
so that we could have a conversation, because this person is going to continue to spread this message to ever they meet with this disease,
which is dangerous. If it's somebody who's newly diagnosed, that could be very dangerous.
And so in all of this, the thing, I want the listeners to take away is, if you are going to offer advice, do it in a way where you have researched it at least a little bit first. Okay. Don't just pull up a headline like Mason says and send it over and say, read this. You read through it and see what you think about it, and don't be afraid to share stuff with us. That's not what this is about, but do it in a way that is means well
and responsible. Yeah. And we can have a conversation about it, So I was going to say, I was going to give my opinion on this, on this letter or whatever. I'm going to give my opinion on it, and we have 3 different possibilities. Obviously hers were a lot better, but I'm just going to give mine. We're going to have the first one, which is going to be the best scenario, the middle one, which is going to be the okay, and then the third, which is going to be why did you do this. The first scenario is someone who just wasn't thinking, and they're just one of the I want to be rude. Clueless, not wanting to have a conversation, just trying to send something that they don't know if it's actually true. They don't know if it's actually false. They just want to send something to try to be helpful, but they don't really know about it. It's someone who doesn't do their research. They know something, but they don't think. Which that's better, because no, it's obviously not better. But for this person, morals wise, this person just did something to do it. They didn't think that this would be bad. They were just thinking, oh, hey, today's a good day to send a note to somebody, to
not intending harm,
recommend something or do something. I don't really feel like doing research. I don't know the research behind it, but I'm just going to do it. Why not? Then there's a person in the middle who wanted to send research, who was like, I don't feel like dealing with talking to this person right now. I don't feel like caring. I don't feel like doing research about this person. I'm just going to send something, and maybe they'll like it, or maybe they'll listen to it. But if they don't, I'm not going to put my name on there. That way, we can have a discussion about it, and I can't have my opinions challenged. So fun.
Agree.
And then there's the worst case scenario, which I genuinely hate. There's a new term called rage baiting, and I would hate to believe that this is a thing, but people are so messed up morally nowadays. I would not put it past somebody to send a message to someone just to purposely tick them off and bait them into being angered. Which, what leads me to believe that is the first part where they say, I don't know what research you've done. Which, maybe it's like the first scenario and the second scenario where they just don't know who we are. They say, hello, neighbor, but they don't know who we are. They're just saying that to make us feel like they know us.
Maybe they're not our neighbor.
Yeah, maybe they just don't know us.
Maybe.
But maybe it's the case that they genuinely do know who we are, and they just send something like, I don't know how much research you've done, so here's my research.
Right.
After they know how much research we do. That is the potential rage bait, where they're just trying to make you angry by sending you something that they know makes no sense, but they're just going to do it, and they're not going to put their name on there just so they can, watch you get
they ghost you. They're like, boom, here you go.
I would really not want it to be the last one. I would prefer it to be the first one, where it's just someone being clueless and go happy, lucky, just doing stuff. But I feel like there's a chance it could be the middle one, which would be the most reasonable, but with how unreasonable people are nowadays,
I think it could be a mix.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a mix of all of them.
Right, like this personality could encompass all of them.
And rage baiting.
Right.
I don't know. That's
Your
what I take
average,
from it.
like that's your average Facebook user
Yeah, it's
at
my
this
average
point.
Facebook user, average internet user, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody is out here for arguments, but
Mhm.
whatever. Hers were a lot more put together. Mine were just
I think
put up it.
I think
Yeah,
mine said what you said, it just in different ways.
yeah,
And we're really, because some people are like, wow, you're really taking the high road. And it's like, we've had time and this is not our first like run around with somebody giving us information. And so I think I really want to believe people are inherently good.
yes. I would like to believe that they're
But,
just trying to be helpful.
but I
But
know that's not the
no.
case all the time. And so the thing is,
Hoping everybody is trying to inherently be helpful is like trying to believe and find the source that Crohn's disease can be cured by not eating something.
right,
It
it's not
is
that
pushing
simple.
past reality to find the answer that you want.
We are not going to be staring down our neighbors. It was kind of funny because my mom knew about this letter and she had stopped by yesterday and there was somebody walking down the street. She's like, do you think that could be them? And I'm like, see, this is the problem.
Grandma go not running over everybody, bro. No, don't do that,
Yeah.
Grandma. What we're trying to do though is we're trying to prevent like innocent, not innocent, but people who are new to the disease
Right.
or people who just don't feel like dealing with
Or
this
who,
from getting this, you know?
or maybe who are in like a fragile place and
Mhm.
like dealing with a lot and this kind of thing would
You know,
have just,
depression and Crohn's disease, and
right.
they're sensitive, and then they get this. Also, you're blaming them for eating it, and that is gonna hurt them. Like I did this to myself, and they're gonna
It's,
start blaming themselves, and that is
right.
really bad to do,
Right.
especially to someone with Crohn's disease.
It's not a food disease, guys. For
Nope.
maybe if it is for you, like I said, I feel like this is the wrong diagnosis. I
Yes.
feel like
Maybe yes, maybe.
I feel like I said, we've said many times, Crohn's can be might be many different
Yes,
diseases, and that might be why everyone kind of argues amongst
because
themselves
it's not the same
because
thing.
it's not
Yeah.
the same. So it is very confusing. So I do try to give people grace and remember that it is very confusing. And it's confusing for us, and we talk about it and know so much about it. So somebody who has just watched a commercial and they're on a yacht and everyone's happy because they took something,
And they're all dancing.
or they talk to a friend who's like, I just can't eat pizza and I'm great. And that might be the case. I'm not saying any of these things are like they're a liar necessarily. That's why I want to be careful what I talk about and sharing these doctors' information's names because I don't want to necessarily call anyone out and say someone is lying. I think maybe misleading.
Yes.
I do think there's
They're
things
just
that
you
are
need to word it
misleading.
differently.
But I think that, there are truths for people out
Yeah.
there that it's not up to me to make that decision for you. But what we will make the decision for is our son and
Yeah.
what his medical team thinks is best and what is working for him.
If it was the case that food could prevent me from having to take biologics and help my Crohn's disease, I would surprisingly opt not to. As someone who loves food, I do not want my ability to eat to be hindered. And while I'm doing so well with biologics and I get to eat whatever I want, it's so nice to be free. And there's other people who can't do that. But
Right.
it's so nice to be free and to be able to enjoy food. And a lot of people take that for granted. And so if I could cure it by not eating, I would still choose to take
It's like
biologics.
I
I have
actually
a shirt from Disneyland that says so many flavors, so little time.
right. He has been someone who's experienced, gut rest
Yeah,
and
and not being able to eat. It was miserable.
right. And I think, like you said, there are some of you out there who do have to have special diets,
Cool.
and it is rough. And
It is.
so
Not being able to, your friend wanting to eat something at a restaurant, you say, I can't do
And
that.
so I think you can understand where like Mason would say, hey, these treatments give me that freedom. I'm so
Yeah.
lucky to
I don't
have
want to
it.
take that for granted.
Why would I get rid of that? Like, so,
Scientists went through the work to make these amazing treatments, and it gives me the ability to eat, and I don't want to, take that for granted and not be able to eat and do the thing that makes me happy, that I enjoy,
Mhm.
So
And so we take all that into account. We
yeah.
always have. Mason has always been with his doctor, with us, at the forefront of the decisions that will give him a good life, not necessarily a restricted life that's going to affect him with his mental health. And so sometimes you have to do things that are hard and that don't make it easy. But when you find that answer and something works, it's phenomenal. And we've
Yeah.
been fortunate enough with Mason to get to that point that we know that can change. We know there may at some point, sometimes you have to do certain things, but for the most part, yeah. I mean, we want him to enjoy life.
Yeah.
And,
Enjoy life.
you know,
It's the saying, It might be hard, but are you enjoying your life? The healthiest diet is a well-rounded diet. Now, if you have something where you can't eat gluten and you can't have
Right,
lactose,
then
there's a reason
right,
you can't eat that.
that is not in your rounded diet. You take that out and you make it round with what you can.
Yeah, but there's the thing that everything in moderation, you need to have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. As someone who is anemic because they didn't have enough iron,
Mm-hmm.
meat is very good for me.
And certain
Yeah,
vegetables.
but it's good to have that mixed with carbs and vegetables because that for me works the best where you have a well-rounded diet and everything works together and it's all healthy.
And you can also see in his energy levels and how other things are doing. Different diets might be helpful, different stages of the disease, but as far as putting it in remission, that's a conversation to have with your doctor.
And remember, not everything we're saying is something you need to do because
Right.
it will help you find a cure.
Right.
No.
We don't know.
We are
Nobody knows.
suggesting it's you to do your own research and find what works for you.
Right.
And don't force what works for you onto others.
And the basic idea, be kind to others and don't
Respect.
assume that they, just and if you want to send a letter and you have good intentions, put your name and contact
Yes.
information because trust me, we would love to have a conversation and go back and forth and talk about it, not argue.
But then when you really sit down and you have a conversation and you talk about it and you use your critical and dialectic thinking,
Mm-hmm.
you understand, okay, I was thinking of it this way. I took it differently. You meant it this way. You took it differently and
Right.
I meant it. And then you're able to solve the problem. But when you refuse to have a conversation of what is causing a problem because you don't want to
And
deal
you
with
want to
it,
hide?
it's going to cause you more problems.
Right.
You have to discuss, you have to have critical thinking, you have to think dialectically, you have to solve your problems. You can't just expect silence and aggression to fix
And I like so tone is also important. And so
Yes.
then we could actually hear you or see your facial expressions, hear your tone and hear how this maybe and maybe this person would have said, "You know what? I'm sorry."
Yeah.
You guys are well researched. I'm so happy he's in remission. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
And maybe understand why this could be a dangerous solution for Mason that you're giving him and maybe have the conversation about his diagnosis. He was so young and it would just be interesting to see, like, I wish I knew more. But as far as we're concerned with this kind of thing, we don't want another one of these. So if you want to send us something with your name and your contact, like we said, sure.
Want to talk? Let's go.
But don't hide.
No.
Don't hide behind, don't hide behind your keyboards, guys.
Yep.
Don't be keyboard warriors over on social media doing the same thing, being anonymous and saying things. And then it's like, if you can't use your own name to talk about it and you're saying maybe you need to reconsider even saying it. That's the thing. So anyways, with that, guys, it's time for us to eat our lunch. So with that, guys, you can follow us on Instagram at Team I Be Determined. You can listen to us on any podcast station like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And you can watch us if you prefer on
YouTube, where you shouldn't be doing your research. I did that.
I mean, you watch us. We're like entertainment, partial, research for you guys, but we are always encouraging you to do your
own research
beyond that.
Help yourself.
Yeah.
And
So
be nice to those around you. But if you are on YouTube, there are also YouTube podcasts, which I don't know why you're watching podcasts on a video platform. But if you are on YouTube, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a new video, make sure to hit that bell icon. And if you have any suggestions for us, make sure to leave a comment and put your full name in it. Don't do that.
And we will return to this kind of leads into, which was perfect, into, the whole biologics conversation. We were having bioscience companies and trust and everything like that. So we're going to go back into that and we'll be back unless we get another letter. I hope not, but
we get a bunch of letters. This person's
like every podcast is going to be about our letters. Hope you guys are all well out there. Please drop a comment. Let us know how you're doing. And we'll be back here to see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. Maybe I won't be sick by then.
Yay, better. So see you guys here in 2 weeks on the next episode. All right.
Have a good day.
Have a great weekend, day.
Positive.
All right, guys. We'll see you back here. And thanks for watching.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to apply something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.